Hey, welcome back. Welcome to Neuropsychology, Part 2. In the previous video, we discussed about engram. Engram can be considered as the representation of memory. Okay, let's talk about brain. In the previous video, we learned that brain is the part of central nervous system. The brain can be divided into two halves known as hemispheres. Brain has left and right hemispheres, and it is separated by corpus callosum. Do you know what is brain lateralization? Brain lateralization is the concept that the two hemispheres of brain deals with two different functions. That is, the right hemisphere deals with creative and intuitive thinking, whereas the left hemisphere deals with analytical and logical functions. The brain has four lobes: the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. The frontal lobe deals with voluntary movement, expressive language, and cognitive functions. The parietal lobe is vital for integrating sensory information, including touch, temperature, pressure, and pain. The somatosensory area is located in this lobe. The occipital lobe is responsible for visual perception. The temporal lobe, on the other hand, is associated with understanding, language, and hearing. The auditory cortex is located in this area. It also plays an important role in storing and retrieving emotions. In 1861, a famous French physiologist named Paul Broca studied a patient who could only produce the sound tan. Broca observed him for a long time, and after the patient's death, he discovered that a lesion in a specific area of the frontal lobe was responsible for this condition. This area became known as Broca's area, and the patient's condition was diagnosed as Broca's aphasia. In 1874, a German neurologist named Karl Wernicke studied a patient whose hearing functioned well and who could speak, but had difficulty understanding speech. He also could not comprehend written language. Wernicke found that a lesion in a particular area of the temporal lobe was the cause of this impairment. This area came to be known as Wernicke's area, and the condition was termed Wernicke's aphasia. Let's explore some scanning techniques used to study brain function. The first technique is the CT scan, computerized tomography. A CT scan is a computerized X-ray imaging procedure in which a narrow beam of X-rays is aimed at the patient and quickly rotated around the body. This produces signals that are processed by the machine's computer to generate cross-sectional images, or slices. When these images are combined, they form a detailed image of the brain. The strength of a CT scan lies in its ability to provide clear structural images of the brain. It is particularly useful for detecting tumors or structural damage. It provides high-quality pictures of the brain's anatomy. However, one weakness of this method is that it requires higher radiation exposure, so it cannot be used frequently. Additionally, a CT scan only provides structural images and does not offer insights into brain function. The second technique is the PET scan, positron emission tomography. A PET scan uses a radioactive substance, typically a form of glucose, to capture images of the brain. The radioactive tracer is injected into the patient's vein. This substance helps identify the active areas of the brain based on metabolic activity. Areas with more activity appear red or yellow, while less active areas appear blue. The strength of the PET scan is that it provides insights into the functioning of the brain. This makes it particularly useful in research, such as studying the localization of brain functions. Additionally, the radioactive glucose used in PET scans is generally not harmful to the patient. However, the weaknesses of the PET scan include its high cost, making it rarely used in routine research. The radioactive tracer can only be used a limited number of times, which can make interpreting results challenging. The next scanning technique is fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. This method does not use any radioactive substances. Instead, it measures oxygen levels in the brain. When a specific brain area becomes active, it consumes more oxygen and blood is directed to that area. fMRI captures images based on these changes in blood flow. One of the strengths of fMRI is that it shows the brain in action, making it particularly useful for research. It also does not use radiation, making it a very safe method for scanning the brain. and the images it produces are extremely clear. However, there are some weaknesses. fMRI is expensive due to the costly equipment required. Additionally, it is only effective if the patient remains extremely still, which can be a challenge for children or anyone who has difficulty staying motionless. Furthermore, there is a 5-second delay between brain activity and when it is shown on the screen, which can make it difficult to accurately judge real-time brain responses. So, neuropsychology majorly deals with the neurological basis of behavior. For example, the amygdala is associated with emotions, and the hippocampus is linked to memory. The levels of neurotransmitters are also connected to various psychological problems. For instance, serotonin, when its levels are low, can lead to depression, and damage to neurons can cause changes in behavior. Neuropsychology covers all of these neurological issues. It's the scientific study of how brain structures influence mental processes such as memory and perception. So, that's the video, guys. Neuropsychology is a vast subject, and we've just touched on the basics to give you an overview and a revision of key topics. If you have any suggestions, feel free to comment below. If you found this video informative, please like and subscribe for more psychology-related content. See you in another interesting video with an exciting topic. Bye.